When you flip on a light switch, electricity is immediately delivered from a power plant, over wires crossing hundreds of miles, to power lines on your street, and finally into your home. We take this process for granted, but it's far from simple. In fact, electrification was called the #1 greatest achievement of the 20th century by the National Academy of Engineering, ahead of computers, the internet, and spacecraft. Second on the list was the automobile, run predominantly by another energy source, gas. So energy plays an essential role in our everyday lives, and we know that choices we make today through investments in technology and infrastructure will affect the bills we pay, the jobs we create, national security, and the quality of our environment for decades to come. What energy infrastructure does Arizona need for a prosperous future? How will our energy choices affect our communities, our state, and our nation? Welcome to Energy Spark. Our goal is simple. We want to help Arizonans understand our complex energy system in a factual, objective way. To do this, we've talked to experts from our universities, local businesses, state government, and the broader Arizona community. Our hope is that you'll be inspired to get involved in Arizona's most pressing energy challenges. So let's get started. Like most places, Arizona's energy demand had increased steadily over time until our recent economic downturn in 2008. Arizona uses more energy than some entire countries, such as Greece or Colombia. But compared to other U.S. states, Arizona's energy use per capita is low, ranking 45 out of 50, mainly due to lack of heavy industry and mild winters. Most of Arizona's energy goes to the main uses we mentioned: generating electricity and powering our transportation fleet. Digging a little deeper, we can see how transportation fuels are being used and where our electricity is going. A unique feature of Arizona's system is that we export about a quarter of the electricity we generate, mostly to California. In its early days, Arizona got a lot of power from its hydroelectric dams. Today, as demand has grown, those dams only account for about 6% of our electricity production. Most of our electricity comes from coal, nuclear, and natural gas. And in fact, Arizona is home to the largest nuclear power plant in the country.
Nuclear and coal resources are really the backbone of our electricity supply. They're sort of the workhorses. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're called baseload resources, and so that's what's running in the middle of the night when you go in and flip the switch.
Today we have about 70% of our energy that for customers in our businesses and residential that is served by nuclear and coal resources. So it's been a big part of our energy portfolio.
Across the country, the amount of electricity now generated from natural gas power plants has risen due to falling prices and increased supply thanks to the shale gas boom. Arizona is no exception. Our state has over 25 natural gas power plants that have been quick to take advantage of these historically low gas prices.
Shale gas will be important to the state of Arizona because we can depend on very stable supplies in the $4 to $6 per million BTU range, and we can expect very substantial quantities at that price. So what this means is that our industry can plan for a fairly stable price and ample supplies for well into the next decade and probably for the next several decades.
On the transportation front, gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel come from crude oil, a global commodity. It's nearly impossible to tell exactly where the oil comes from, but it is almost certain to be imported. Arizona has virtually no oil or gas production or storage within its borders. As a result, we have to import all of those resources through pipelines and tanker trucks. Arizona does have coal deposits in the Hopi and Navajo reservations that are actively mined, with supplies expected to last at least another 20 years. The state is currently in negotiation with the Environmental Protection Agency and other regulatory bodies on the future of coal production in Arizona. State officials, including the governor, are working hard to protect the production of this important energy resource.
It's important to Arizona because it really is an economic engine. Today, the plant is very highly controlled. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to add pollution control to that facility, so we're very proud of those operations.
As energy demand grows in the future, what are Arizona's energy supply options? For the foreseeable future, we will continue to import transportation fuels unless we transition to new technologies. For electricity, according to our state utilities, future new power plants are likely to be some mix of natural gas and renewable energies like solar, wind, biomass, and geothermal. Not surprisingly, Arizona is one of the best places in the world for solar deployment, and the state now ranks second in the nation for solar power, helped by falling installation costs. According to the Western Governors Association, areas feasible for solar energy development in Arizona could produce 2/3 of the state's total electricity sales. Perhaps more surprisingly, wind production also has measurable growth potential in Arizona.
It gets hot here, the hot air rises, it causes a breeze every single day up over the Mogollon Rim. And so we've got a decent wind resource up there. We've come up with 20 to 30,000 megawatts of developable wind power in the state. You could probably further refine that to how much of it's near transmission lines. We haven't done that. We've just looked at the raw wind resource in areas that are basically developable.
As well as creating energy, we also need to look at how much we waste. Old appliances that use power inefficiently, buildings with poor insulation, and cars with poor fuel economy. Educating people about energy efficiency is one way to improve this and keep more dollars in Arizona's economy.
We started our energy efficiency focus about a decade ago. And at that time, we invited our engineers to bring forward ideas on how we could make our operations more efficient. We thought within a year or two we would run out of ideas. Here we are a decade later, and those ideas continue to come forward. I think energy efficiency is now integrated with companies' desires to be more efficient, to be more cost effective. If you are not focusing on energy efficiency, then you're falling behind your competition.
From the internet to GPS to nuclear power and microchips, public investment in research and development plays a critical role in advancing the new technologies that we enjoy today.
The role of the government is a tricky one here. One wants to take the government's role in research and discovery and alternative generation and find a way to allow market forces to capture those alternatives and to move forward with those in the way that they have in the past, nuclear power being an example, elements of solar power being another example, the internet being another example. What one needs to do is to sort of view the role of the government here as helping to facilitate alternatives that then the market can then capitalize on and advance to the success of the region.
The Governor's Office of Energy Policy is actively seeking to streamline some of this innovation through efforts like the Governor's Solar Task Force and the Arizona Rooftop Challenge. In Arizona, decisions on energy policy are made by many parties, including the legislature, the Arizona Corporation Commission, and the governor.
We're in a global race for great jobs, so it never stopped. We always need to look ahead and to see what types of things we could do to make the state even more attractive. And I'm sure the Solar Task Force will have some recommendations. Other groups in the energy space will have some recommendations. Our policymakers, Governor Brewer, the state legislature, the Arizona Corporation Commission, they all deserve a great deal of credit for creating arguably the best climate right now for solar energy production in the country.
The primary functions of the ACC are to oversee how public service companies conduct business through setting rates, to set Arizona's energy standards, and to work with the state's investor-owned utility companies in planning for the future. The ACC has jurisdiction over the public utilities shown in the right column.
The legislature has been influential in helping us to get new innovation and new investment in energy, in the energy sector here in Arizona. Through the competitiveness package, they emboldened a lot of folks to work with the ACA to bring that investment to Arizona. We have some of the largest, the world's largest solar manufacturers here in Arizona that employ hundreds and hundreds of people. Because those large manufacturers relocated here and invested in Arizona, the smaller companies that help them do their job also relocated in Arizona. So it created even more jobs. So it was a synergy that happened when that initial investment was brought in, thanks to good policies put forward by Arizona.
Going forward, Arizona can continue to develop a balanced portfolio approach to its energy mix.
The governor is very interested in energy bills or energy legislation that moves our state forward, especially when it comes to A, protecting our traditional sources of energy, because those baseload sources are so important to our overall mix and how we can integrate renewables onto the grid. Also because she's a big believer in research and development and education. We work very closely with our universities to promote research in algae, for example. She also has supported bills that make streamlining of solar on buildings a little bit easier. She targets nothing in particular as long as it supports the overall balance of energy that we have in the state.
The actions we have shared in this video represent the initial spark. We want this to be the start of an ongoing process, so together we can ensure an even brighter energy future for Arizona.